Daman Grewall felt drawn to share a free educational platform that helps people get unstuck in life and expose them to opportunities for financial freedom and to attain their optimal life. So I thought, sure, let's offer this on Awaken and Ascend. This is often a piece that many watching feel they don't have. They don't have the opportunities. They don't have the right mindset to really create that financial abundance, feeling limited, constricted, restricted, often by circumstances that you may feel that you're just simply stuck in. And have been operating so long in the survival mode, you kind of lost your sense of vision and ability to actually create the best life. So Damon believes that regardless of your circumstances, financial abundance is just a mindset shift. So he's here to advocate for our knowing that we do have choices. We are in control of our lives, not anyone else. So Damon, it's so great to have you here. Thank you so much. It seems obvious, and yet we kind of get lost in the shuffle and chaos of just trying to get through the day that we forget, how to create that best life. So I'm grateful that you're here for us.
Yeah, change is hard. Change is difficult. And that's hopefully what we'll be talking about today. And so thank you so much for that warm welcome, Jennifer, as well. And yeah, we see that so often in life. I've been there myself, lots of times where we just get stuck and we really don't see another way out of a situation, or we don't see other opportunities because we're just living in that day to day. And so, yeah, so for us, it's just creating a platform where, hey, we have free episodes once a week, and we invite people to say, to come and see what we have to offer. It's free education. We have worksheets in there where we get people to do internal work as well and say, okay, what steps can I take today? Even if they're small steps. And this is the reason why a lot of people don't make change, because they see this huge mountain of a change that they want to make. But it's like, how do I get up to the top of that mountain? Or how do I get to this financial freedom that everyone's talking about? And so it's making the small shifts, and it's realizing that it's just like the small habits, right? Or just a mindset shift of saying, today I'm gonna connect with a few people on LinkedIn. Let's see what happens, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. Or let me zoom out of Google Maps and let me see, what's in my area. Let me see what businesses are there. And it's not one of the things that kind of surprises people sometimes is when you zoom out of, like, let's say like a residential neighborhood of where one of the viewers may be living right now. And when you zoom out, you're going to start realizing that so many people have home-based businesses.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, I thought it was just a regular house, and how are they running a business out of there? Oh, okay. Well, I guess so many people are doing this. And then you start seeing that things are possible. And that's what we're really trying to show people, is that all these things are possible if we're willing to take just a small little action step. Like, is that too difficult zooming out of, a Google Maps and looking at your neighborhood, or, creating a LinkedIn profile to maybe just start connecting with people? And then there's other different ways too, whether it's going to a community center, going to, a place where people are doing the things that I want to get involved in, and just
Mm.
saying, hey, where does that conversation take me? Or where does me just getting out of my comfort zone take me in life? And so that's kind of what we want people to see in a very basic format. But then we also get into like advanced skills. So we do have about 110 episodes as a part of our curriculum that we do offer. And then there's worksheets that go along with each episode after maybe about the second or third. And one is just introducing them to what financial opportunities look like and where we can find them. And then secondly is just giving them that soft skill sets to be able to communicate and start showing value of what they have to bring to the table. And sometimes, like, a lot of people are in basic like customer service roles, for example, and people don't realize that customer service is actually sales. And so they realize, sales may have a bad connotation to it, where you think like, oh, hey, you know what? I have to go sell something to somebody. Oh, it sounds so difficult. I'm going to be judged. Or, I wonder what someone's going to say. I don't want to hear no from somebody. And so there's all these things that maybe go along with that. But then they realize that, hey, if I've been doing customer service and I like helping people and I like, solving problems, then that's probably sales too. Or maybe there's a different component that I like as well, whether that's helping somebody do their marketing, or helping somebody get creative with their ideas, or helping them with their business in different ways. And so many people have different skill sets that they just don't know how to apply it to gain the value that they truly deserve.
Absolutely. Yeah, we need those opportunities to be able to express those skills and discover parts of ourselves that might not even have been revealed yet because we haven't had to use them in a particular role or job yet, or, kind of got fell to the wayside when we get absorbed in those roles and responsibilities and day-to-day living, as you spoke about, Damon. And
Mhm.
I love that you talk about small actionable steps as creating the opening and then being able to see what's possible, which expands that opening even more. And then you start seeing the path and you start on the way, and it keeps appearing more and
Mhm.
more of these different opportunities. And then you start moving through your day to day more skillfully with more higher priorities for creating an optimal life, for creating more financial abundance, for reducing that overwhelm. And which is great about those small actionable steps in the beginning is
Mhm.
that you don't have to like keep pushing it off because you can start small and just start building on that and start really gaining the momentum. And I've seen a lot of people do that. They do, get excited about something, for example, and then they start learning and they feel inspired, and then they quickly become disillusioned or sucked back into the vacuum of those roles and responsibilities. So I'm curious, Damien, how you help people actually sustain that momentum once they've opened up to these new possibilities.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with like the weekly episodes. Is how do you keep people along that journey, keep them going? And so right now, I think our course kind of runs over almost a 2 year period with one a week
Okay.
episode. And then what we encourage them to do is just again the small action steps, right? So again, if you're taking the worksheets and you're applying just a little bit of the knowledge that you're learning, and this is where a lot of people get stuck, is that everyone loves to learn, but when it comes to application, very few people can actually walk the walk.
Mm,
And that's the part where people do get stuck. And so we try to make it very simplified again, right? Can you zoom out of a Google Maps? Can you contact somebody on LinkedIn? Can you, and then, once you can do the basics, then it's like, okay, well, hey, can we have a conversation? Do we know how to position ourselves in that conversation? Okay, well, what is it that we truly want? And so we're just trying to push people just, to that next step. And sometimes it's just, you're working at a job and maybe you're at that point where you're living paycheck to paycheck and you can't make ends meet. And now it's like, okay, well, how do I ask for that raise? Or how do I ask for another position within the company that can get me the financial abundance that I'm looking for, or just get me, out of this paycheck to paycheck situation? And so those are things that we try to guide people in and say, okay, well, think of it in a way that we're in service to that company or in service to that employer or in service to my team. Any which way you want to look at that situation. But how do I create a win-win situation here? One is just saying, okay, well, I'm going to ask for a raise for myself. Well, what am I giving back in return? What can I do? Can I learn a new skill set? Can I offer to train other people on my team? Can I offer to enhance something that could create more revenue for the employer that I'm working at for them to be able to afford to pay me a little bit more? So we're trying to create these win-win situations, giving people a different perspective or a different lens to think for when they have that conversation to really make it beneficial for somebody else and give them that power to go to whether they have to go to a separate supervisor or they have to make a decision with their business partner about moving you up that ladder chain and saying, oh, well, here's the value that the person brings to our organization, based on that value. And sometimes it's not the longevity of how long someone's been there, but what value do you truly bring?
mhm.
Are you able to save costs in that company? Are you able to bring some other additional value to that company that you can be compensated for? So really creating, these structures and teaching people how to do that in different parts of their lives as well. And so we're really trying to, get people unstuck by showing them different ways to think and different ways to position themselves that maybe they weren't doing before. But I think it's just that slow, like what can we plant into everybody, the audience, every single week? And when you have enough of that good information coming into you, you're going to start changing as an individual, and that's what we're hoping for, to be able to carry people along that journey for long term. And because they're doing it as a self-led journey as well, which is, hey, I want to grow as an individual. And if I'm watching good content, which is going to help me get into alignment with, my values and the way that I want to operate as an individual, then that's what we want for everybody, right? It's like not do what Damon tells you to do, but hey, how about we flip the script and say, what do you want to do? What falls in line with your skill sets that's important to you that you can move forward with. And so that's what we want to really, truly be able to help someone with.
Absolutely. And it really invites that reflection and
Mhm.
recognition of your value and what you're here to contribute. And I often talk about passion, right? And when you break up that word, it's pass I on. And that I is your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And going through this path that really cultivates self leadership. You said yourself too that it's self led, right? And so
Mhm.
the self leadership helps you to take the actions that you need to create the optimal life and also recognize your value and your contribution and what that's worth, and have the courage and capacity to be able to express it in the best way and to understand that you do have something here that you're here to pass on. And it sounds like you provide such a great skill set and like opportunity to grow in capacity for creating that best life, especially
Mhm.
long term. You mentioned a couple of years and you're there every week and you can continue to be inspired and motivated. And there are questions that really support that self leadership and not just following a certain formula or the method, or which a lot of people are seeking right now is that instant gratification, right? And just again, that's part of the survival mode. It's just like trying to survive in the day and doing
Yeah.
it in the best possible way as fast as possible just so you can get to the next thing or feel a sense of peace. And there's no presence in that. There's no health and well-being in that. It's just productivity and performance constantly, which can overwhelm our nervous system and create a whole host of problems that create
Mhm.
imbalances in all areas of our life, particularly financially as well. And so recognizing our outputs and our inputs as well, what's replenishing us. And so what supports you in your work, Damon? Because you obviously put a lot out there for other people. How do you support yourself? How do you lead yourself through your day to day?
I think just try to balance things as much as possible. So, there's that time for work, there's a time for rest, time for my prayer meditation, time for my exercising. So it's just balancing myself out just throughout the many aspects that can help recharge me because there's things that drain me. So it's how do
Yeah.
I recharge as well and get my rest properly. And so yeah, all these things they add up to that healthy lifestyle. Am I eating properly? Am I able to express my thoughts and feelings with a friend of mine, right? So with someone that I can trust, right? So can someone understand what I'm going through? So just having those type of conversations helps you stay focused, helps you stay in charge, helps you know that hey, you're on the right track as well. And so, when we talk about about people getting scattered and not knowing what to do, there was a person that I was talking to yesterday as well, and the person had just closed down a business, but now had so many thoughts in their mind about okay, what can I do next? And da da da, da, I want to do this, I want to do this. They're naming out so many different things that they want to do, and it's like, and for me, it was just like, hey, first let's just slow down a little bit and let's just get clarity on one action step first, because that's the overwhelm. Is people
Mhm.
have so many ideas of what they want to do,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, hey, I want to go work with government, and I'm like, well, okay, if you're gonna work with government, what department do you want to work in? Well, I know a plumber, I know, this type of company, I know, he named out like three, four different type of industries. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to learn one first. And so, let's stick with one and not just look at government, but let's look at other companies that we could sell to. If you're going to learn one business and you want to be able to represent that business, whether it's in a bid format and you're going after government dollars, but you could just see the mind firing off in so many different ways.
Mhm.
And because he had done a business that didn't work, there's a pain point there. Pain point was not everyone always pays. And so he ended up shutting the business down because it was getting very competitive. He was having difficulty sometimes even quoting and getting the money that he wants. Then he's like, he's like, what person, what money is guaranteed? And he said, well, government money is always usually guaranteed because they're never gonna go bankrupt. And so that was a mindset. But it was like, okay, hold on, is that the right mindset to have? Is that, are you thinking this out fully all the way out? And that's what we want to help people with, is just helping get that clarity And I think it's once people get clarity in one action step first, is when they can start moving forward.
Hmm.
And then just say, okay, can I get my thoughts all together into one place? And does it make sense to me first? And then you have to be able to see it to be able to walk that road.
Hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, you are going to live in overwhelm because you're just putting too much on your plate at once. And
Yeah.
so, it's about learning again, just the small steps. If you're going to try to get healthy, it's let's just try getting into the gym first. That should be the main objective. It doesn't matter what you're doing for a workout, doesn't matter what you're eating. Let's just start getting to the gym first, right? Like don't complicate it. It's when people start thinking about so many different steps, or can I just start going for a walk out of my house if you can't make it to the gym? Can't just get out of my house just to go for a little bit of a walk, and maybe that's step one. But we have to simplify things in a very basic way to
Yeah.
allow people to flow through it, to let them know that, hey, it's possible. And again, yeah, if you're great at motivating yourself and getting to a gym, yeah, okay, maybe get to a gym. Maybe if you're already eating healthy, then yeah, maybe we can add that on too. But we want to look at where the individual is and not overwhelm them. And that's sometimes where people just, they make up so many stories in their head
Mm.
that it's so hard for them to move forward. And
Yeah.
so, a lot of times when I'm teaching, a lot of the times all I'm doing is taking the blocks away from people because they've experienced some sort of pain.
Hmm.
And that's really all it is because we're all naturally good communicators. And if you look at, whether it's young children, and if you watch any of them, know how to get what they want without even having to say the words properly. And they just know how to read people, they know how to communicate to people, they know how to make people smile,
Yeah.
right? So that always comes to mind. And so you see, like, all of us are just natural good communicators when we're younger, but
Mm.
there's certain blocks that come along our path as we get older. And then for me, it's just removing that and just saying, okay, hey, stop pretending to be somebody else. Let's be ourselves. Let's stick to something that we're comfortable with, that, we can believe in. And then, yeah, you're going to be a really good salesperson, or you're going to be a really good entrepreneur, or it's all going to come from authenticity, not from being somebody else, but by being you. And you are the person that we're trying to get out, right? And that's
Yeah.
what education is all about too, is education is about getting the inner education that someone already has out to the forefront.
Hmm.
And that's what we're really trying to do through, our platform. And again, it's not like the Wolf of Wall Street's type of sales where we're going to get you to do stuff that maybe you don't want to do, or sell to somebody that you don't want to sell. It's like, no, we want to get you into alignment, into your true purpose and your true passion, so that you can move forward. And it's easier when you have that positive energy. And when we talk about, how do you stay balanced? It's, well, you do something that you believe in, that you
Hmm.
can feel good doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. And that's where everything is more coherent. It's not so scattered all over the place, right? Like you say, you're talking about that alignment, and it's remembering, what truly drives you, what you stand for, what you truly value, and coming back
Mhm.
into alignment with that. And the groundwork, the true groundwork for that is that inner work that you mentioned. And knowing that you just need to take the first most safe step forward. What is the next safe step I can take to move this forward? What
Mhm.
your true passion is, what's ready to emerge now, but also taking the time and integrating what just happened, and honoring that ending. We are so quick to jump to the next thing all the time, and I've learned this the hard way, and not taking the time to grieve and celebrate and acknowledge what's just past, what you've experienced, and to be able to integrate all of that as part of what got you ready for this next thing, and to steady yourself in that, to create that steadiness, and then create that sustainable momentum as we spoke about. And so what's the first mindset shift, I think, that would help people just get started? You talked about the little things that you can do and not make it so complicated, and simplify, and to really take away, I guess, what's been draining you, what's no longer serving you. Are these the things, the blocks that are created, and recognizing what those are so that you can remove them? I'm curious about what you think is that very first mindset shift.
Um, yeah, so just kind of want to address what you were talking about as well, Jennifer, is, yeah, there is a time for us to rest and recharge,
Mm.
because if we don't have the energy to move forward,
Right.
then we have to look at ourselves first, right? So
Yeah.
that's something where, again, if we've been through a painful situation, especially like if we, get out of a relationship, or again, we've been fired from our job, maybe, or we just invested so much time into a business that didn't work out.
Mm.
So now we have to hit a reset button. And a lot of us, sometimes go into survival mode, which is just repeating the same process, right? We're going through the same cycle. But we want to just say, okay, let's just reflect on what just happened, and allow us to, whether it's a grieving process, to go through that and just understand that that's okay. There's going to be a time for us to rest, but that rest period is also a recharge period for us to be able to hit those next levels down the road.
Yeah.
And so I know I was just listening to something recently about, how some people that are really successful take naps during the day, right? Like they just realize that productivity from taking a nap halfway midday is so much more efficient to the way that they operate,
Huh.
that it's been proven as a successful pattern for success and productivity. And
Yeah.
so when you realize that, that rest break, even for them, it may be just 20 minutes, but at the same time, when we go through something major, yeah, we may need a longer rest period. And again, it's to get that clarity shift,
Mm.
right? Because we have to be able to see something that is possible for us to achieve, at least if it's a first step, right? So the first step has to be achievable. So once we start seeing things that are achievable for us, that we
Mhm.
can practically do, then we know it's possible. And that's the mindset shift, is just saying, okay, is it possible? For example, like if I'm already working an 8-hour shift, is it possible for me to spend 2 hours a day on something that I want to build on the side?
Mm.
Is it possible for me to find an hour to 2 hours a day to read, to learn, connect, maybe network? But is there something there that I can do that is possible within that time frame that I have?
Mm.
Or again, if I have 2 days off during a week, what am I doing during those 2 days? Can I get them into productivity and into, a project that I want to achieve? And then so we want to start looking at those type of shifts within the mindset to say, okay, is it possible for me? Again, what blocks am I telling myself that I have? Do I not have time? Right? That's a common one. Do I
Yes.
not have resources?
Hmm.
And so like there's all these blocks that are going to start coming up. Do I not have the communication skills? Somebody, will somebody not even listen to me, right? So there's all these questions that will come up. And so what I want people to do is just say, okay, well, identify the real objection and
Mm.
ask yourself if it's really true.
Mm.
Ask yourself like 3 times at least, right? Like, okay, is that really true? So the first answer may be, like if I don't have time, okay, yeah, I work full time and yeah, I have so many responsibilities. Okay, well, is that really true that you really don't have time? What are you doing between, that 4 p.m. and, 10 p.m. at night or something, or whatever that question may be. But then, and then you say, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. Okay, so do I really have time in
Mhm.
between any of these activities? And then you're going to start realizing, whether you really do. Again, ask yourself, okay, well, is that every single day? Am I like that? Can I do this every second day? Can I do this every third day? So you really want to get down to your truth. And I don't know about anyone that's working 24/7. That's literally working 24/7. We all say that we might be, but again, I'm sure we can find those little gaps
Yeah.
to really say, okay, well, is that really a true block? And when it comes to resources too.
Yeah.
So even this person that I was talking to yesterday, I said, hey, instead of trying to do everything from scratch yourself, why don't you look for a company that's already working with government and just does
Yes.
bids, right?
Hmm.
So why don't you try thinking about who you can help first
Right.
versus having to do this on your own,
Mm.
which may be a lot more difficult. And you're just going to create a lot more stress for yourself because you have to figure out a lot more instead of having somebody there that already knows the process that could possibly help you and you're helping them at the same time. So create win-win partnerships, right?
Yes.
Another option is also, okay, well, if you know somebody that's a plumber, why don't you ask them how you can help them and learn how to maybe quote, for different projects and find out what they actually do to be able to learn more about that one business instead of going after like 3 or 4 of these different trades and trying to be like, oh, well, I'm going to learn how to do like auto parts. I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to learn how to do steel containers, all the stuff that he was telling me. And so it's like, well, hold on, that's a lot to learn in one go. Okay, let's slow down, right? We gotta calm this mind down because we know you have a lot of ideas. but we want to just focus in on one first and just say, okay, well, if we focus on one, can we expand it? And so again, there's so many opportunities, and it's not that you have to have the resources. It's how resourceful can you be? So he already had, these networks of people that were already doing work. And it's like, well, hey, you don't have to go start a plumbing company. You could just go help one. You don't have to go start a container company and start manufacturing something. Can you just help somebody that's already doing it get better? And so you don't need resources, right? All you need is that time and willingness to learn from somebody and say, hey, can I help you? Can I help you get your product out to market? Or, hey, you know what? I've been noticing some government contracts that fit into your line of work. Is it okay if I try to help you do a bid for, this type of work? And so work together with people, right? It's not about taking that 100% risk yourself. So it's, and these are just some of the blocks that people will have because everyone thinks that they have to do it themselves.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so
Mm.
true. And I love that you talk about how resourceful can you be and also recognizing how we resource ourselves, through the rest that you mentioned and recharging ourselves and making time for all the other areas of your life too to keep things in balance. And
Mhm.
I love that you talk about resourcefulness and time is a resource as well, to be
Yeah.
able to cultivate that in the best possible way. And then our beliefs can also sneak in there too when we're thinking about, do I have the time or don't I? We can actually say, where can I fit this in? That's being
Mhm.
resourceful, right? Not just asking yourself, I don't have time, or, you know, just playing that over and over again. Just like, where can I fit this in? Because then your mind starts operating in a different way to find that spot that you can
Yeah.
fit this in. And then who do I know that can help me? Or who do I know that I can connect with? And don't discount the people that you're connecting with. They may not seem like they have anything in alignment with you yet. They may know someone who does. And so there's a reason why that connection's happening, right? And so
Mhm.
who do you know? Where can you fit this in? And don't get caught up in the how, just the
Yeah.
who, the what, and where. That's all you really need to know. You don't need to
For
know the why or the how, but the who, the what, and the where become very resourceful, very important. And yeah, to trust yourself in your ability to be able to do that. Now, you offer all kinds of education on this, and I know you do it universally too. It's not just
Mhm.
for any particular type of person, or it's globally, universally. This
Yeah.
matters to everyone because we all have a mind that we need to shift and to work with, right? And so it's really for anyone. So, how do they access all this information, the episodes, the worksheets, all the different things that you mentioned here, Damon?
For sure, yeah. Everything's on our website, logisticsales.com.
Perfect.
And so one of the best places to kind of watch it is on YouTube. Just, subscribe to the Logistics Sales channel. And then again, that will have the links to the worksheets on there every week. But then again, you could go to our main logisticsales.com. And then if you scroll down, you'll see all our social media handles. So whether on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, we're on pretty
Awesome.
much a bunch of different platforms, and it's all for free as well. So anyone can come
Amazing.
enjoy
So
it.
generous. Yeah. Amazingly
Yeah.
generous. And so that's so easy to be able to access that because it's available in so many different places. And so we'll definitely put the link to the website and to YouTube because from there you can branch out into the different platforms if you prefer those methods. And so we'll have that all available. We'll have more about Damon in there as well, and that'll all be in the video description. And I'd love to hear your comments about what really stood out for you. What's one small safe step you can take today to move forward? What been wanting to be expressed and emerge through you. So notice what's being revealed and comment on that. Let's put it in some writing and see who out there may actually be able to help you through that, with that. So,
Mhm.
David, I loved everything that you shared. It's absolutely incredible the information that you're providing so freely, so generously as well.
Yeah, and I enjoy doing it. And, something that I also try to put into the mind of everyone too is just like the realities of what, entrepreneurs go through a lot of times. So it's not just even from one perspective, but we like to show people and bring them into all perspectives. And one of the stats that I typically share is, 50% of business owners, especially in the US, and North America, 50% of the business owners go out of business within 5 years that are entrepreneurs, especially the small to medium sized entrepreneurs. And so many people need help out there as well. And just like, this other person that just lost his business, because he wasn't able to keep it going. And just, again, maybe there was too much of a market shift, or he didn't have the right supports, right? But there's so many different ways that, someone can support another business to
Yeah.
help it thrive. And so, again, working together, really, being in service to other people
Yeah.
and not really service to ourselves, but that's really what we try to teach is this outward focus and really like why, right? Why am I telling you to go out and talk to different people and network with different people? Because so many people are having, feel like they have to do things themselves, and especially entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
they really don't have anyone to talk to when it comes to like sharing about those problems or even going through the situations. But I mean, a lot of people, are maybe open to receiving help, but sometimes, they have so much stress around themselves that it's hard to ask for it. So again, really learning how to position ourselves to help people out in different situations, and
Mm-hmm.
just really understanding, right? We live in a culture today nowadays where it's all about what can I get, who can I get it from? It's all about I,
Mm-hmm.
and we really want to flip that script to say, hey, you know what? Let's look at like survival. And a lot of times we see this in the form of strikes. People will always go on
Mm-hmm.
strike. I need more. I need more. I need more. Well, especially when we see it in government, right? When we see it so many times. And what's happening to every government? Every government is going into deficit.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, US, both are going into massive deficits. And we see this around the world. So we realize like, okay, well, that structure is not really working. How long is that going to be sustainable for us to keep going into debt? And entrepreneurs is the same way. Is if you're striking against entrepreneurs, well, we've seen it many times too, where entrepreneurs will eventually shut the door down and say, hey, either we're going to outsource this because we can no longer afford to hire, people here locally because it's just, too much for us to take on, because so many people are looking just at themselves and, hey, I need to pay my bills.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to make my payments work. But well, let's understand other people are going through that same situation. So again, converting that script really to that win-win situation will help people. And there's so many entrepreneurs, 35 million in the US, and that exists right now. There's so many entrepreneurs all over the world. Even if it's not even in our own community, we teach people to look outside that box. We've had people from different parts of the world work with us in North America, and they've been able to, have conversations with multi-billion dollar corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it possible with very little English skills, very little like strong skill sets, you could say, but because they had the willingness to want to do it,
Yeah.
those are the people that were getting the meetings, and then they learned how to leverage help, and I would join them in these meetings,
Mm.
and I would say, hey, you know what, these guys are really open to listening, and you know what, it's possible. There's people from all over the world that are taking advantage of these opportunities because they're just willing to shift their mindset,
Yeah.
and that's really all it is when we realize that we have a choice for everything that we do. And that's really what we want people to understand is like everything in life is a choice. And the only person that's going to get you stuck in this little box is probably you.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. And then it's the person that can pull you out of this box is you too, right?
Exactly. You're not the deficit. And you don't have all these deficits. You're an asset. And it's start
100%.
operating from that place of being an asset, of having value, of having something that you want to be able to
Mhm.
contribute. And that's worth something. So go
Yeah.
out and find out who can help you and to find out, where in your schedule can you start doing that and connecting with people. How many times have we heard two minds are better than one, right? So, yeah, absolutely. Those connections are so very important and creating that community around it too, and having that support. And no matter what you're doing, whether, you're working in like a 9 to 5 type job or 12 to 12-hour job, or you're an entrepreneur, there's always someone that needs you, including yourself.
Mhm.
So make some
Yeah.
time for that as well, and that you can connect with. And that's how we start creating harmony, in our communities, in ourselves, in our families, in our workplaces, and so on. And that continues to expand. We start seeing more and more what's possible and what can we can expand into in a way that's sustainable, a sustainable growth pattern that doesn't operate out of deficits. It operates on assets, and you being one of them, and those resources that we can share. So I'm really grateful that you brought all that in, and that we don't have to succumb to circumstances. We create the conditions to thrive. So I really appreciate you bringing all of that to the surface, to the forefront today, Damon. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
No, well, I could put it in like a little simple context, right? So,
Okay.
we do this with our friends, right? So if we, that's the easiest place to kind of start identifying it is because when we don't feel like an asset,
Mm-hmm.
we're being taken advantage of by our friends. It's like, oh, well, we keep doing everything that they want to do, but I never get to do what I want to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
is that's that inner trigger, right? This inner voice inside of you that's always guiding you. But that's just like a really simple example. But then that same example applies to the rest of your life too, right? Because sooner or later you're going to take action on, with a friend it's a little bit easier, right? Because there's nothing really, you don't feel tied to that friend sometimes. And then, again, depending on how that relationship is, but as you go into, like a dating relationship, or you go into an employer employee relationship, some of these relationships feel like you feel like you're tied to it, but you're really not. It's the same situation, right? As just, any other friendship that you would have, or any other acquaintance that you may have, where you feel like, okay, is this mutually beneficial to both of us? Or is it just more beneficial to one person? And then again, making that choice and shift is just, realizing that that's the shift that needs to happen within you to really realize that you do have value. And it's a self-driven, perspective that you're gonna have to take and say, okay, well, yeah, you know what? I truly get to value myself, not anyone else. I truly get to believe that I'm an asset, and that belief has to happen slowly, slowly, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is sometimes we don't realize it how valuable we are as a human being, but for any business, the biggest capital asset that someone has is that employee. There is no business
Mm-hmm.
without an employee,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the thing that we have to realize is that human capital, that human asset, you as an individual
Mm-hmm.
are so valuable
Yeah.
that you just have to, again, get into your own alignment. And once you
Yeah.
start believing it yourself, then, again, other people around you are going to start appreciating that as well. But it's just knowing how to position yourself and being able to communicate that and saying, hey, yeah, this does seem okay to me. This does not seem okay to me. And so we have to go through different experiences. And that's the thing that we want to encourage everyone to go through is go through enough experiences where you can start differentiating, where your true value is, what you truly enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
where you feel stuck in life, and what makes you feel good. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times we don't really know because, sometimes it's the first job that we go into
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know. We just say, hey, we're happy to have a job. This is life. We've been told that this is what we're supposed to do, right? So we get told these things and we think that it's okay until we try different avenues or different ways of doing something. And so trying it in different, like whether it's volunteering, whether it's just getting out in different spaces and seeing how different activities make you feel. Like volunteer, right? Get involved in the community, get involved in any sort of association groups, but there's so many ways to get involved and to be able to experience different things. Then
Mm-hmm.
we truly get to figure out, oh, hey, hold on. Like I thought this was okay, but this is even better. So
Yeah.
you don't really know.
Yeah.
And that's what we just want people to be able to experience so they can truly figure out who they really are. And sometimes, it takes us so many years in life to
Yeah.
just figure out who we really are. And so again, if we could help somebody along that journey, give you little tips and tricks along the way, that's all we really want to do is so you can figure it out for yourself. And and that's the thing. Some people will get super successful because they're just super amped up and super motivated and they're willing to go through it as quick as possible. And for others that want to just take their time with it, that's okay too,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, we go at whatever pace you want, and that's the beauty of it. It's not something where you're forced to do something, or someone's gonna make you do something you don't want to do. But again, see what resonates with you, and find out who you truly are, right? Because that's the thing that I just heard Robert Herjavec talk about this as well, and he was on the Ed Milet show, and Ed Milet asked him, he goes, Robert, is everyone meant to be an entrepreneur? And he's like 100% yes, right? Because he's like, every human being has this capacity within them, but not many people are willing to go through the pain of being
Mm-hmm.
an entrepreneur, and that's where people get stuck.
Yeah.
Is that pain,
True.
right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to make that sacrifice. They don't want to go through that pain point. And so, but again, everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to have, this financial abundance in life, but not many people are willing to walk that path. And so that's what we're just trying to teach you is, here's a pathway, but it's your choice whether you want to go through it. And it's your choice as to how much of that pathway you want to go through. And that's all it is.
Yeah, and give yourself grace. Trust your own journey. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. And that's what's so great about this self-paced program. And so you'll find the links to that in the video description below. Thank you so much, Damon. There's obviously so much that you have to contribute to the world and what you're passing on. So I appreciate your passion, your generosity, and just sharing all that you did with us about shifting our mindset to help us understand and realize what's possible.
Perfect. Yeah. I appreciate you having me on here and being able to share that message.
Yeah, my pleasure too. And it's been so wonderful having each and every one of you tuning into Awaken and Ascend today. I'm Jennifer Regular, your host, also Sacred Leadership Mentor for those who are transitioning from their career to their calling. So you can check about those types of experiences on my website. And I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful day and let us know what inspired you today. Bye for now.